All right, welcome to my video. This is my 1980 Fiat Spider 2000. There are many like it, but this one is mine. This one has been in a junkyard since last time it was registered was in 1997. So we're looking at over 20 years it's been in a junkyard. And we just got it this summer and trying to bring it back to life today. It has a new battery. I'll just tell you real quick, the stuff I did to it. I had to pull out the tank. There was some fuel in there that'd been sitting in there for a very long time, and that was absolutely disgusting that I had to get all that stuff out. I rinsed out the tank with kind of alternating muriatic acid and vinegar to clean it all out. It seems clean. I don't see any pinholes in it, so I think we're in good shape there. Moving forward, I have some electrical work to do. I just replaced the ignition switch. And on the engine, let's see, I have, of course, new oil, new filter. By the way, I did crank this over enough to generate some oil pressure, so I know it generates oil pressure. I have a new timing belt, new fan belt, V-belt. I had to eBay this part. That's I would call it the mass airflow sensor, but I think Fiat calls that the air meter. And I had to buy this tube. This is the intake tube. The one I had on there was too cracked and broken, and it was just brittle and whatever. There's supposed to be an air assist valve that goes right here, and it opens up a vacuum passage between these 2 points, essentially creating a vacuum leak so that the RPM goes up to aid in cold starting. I'm not even going to worry about that right now, so I have those 2 ports plugged off. Let's see, what else did I do? So as far as the fuel goes, and I replaced the fuel pump and the filter underneath there toward the rear axle. Also, I flushed the fuel system out to here. I replaced this hose because when I messed with that hose, it just broke. But I flushed it until I had clean fuel coming out of here. So I did not open up the fuel rail. I did not clean the injectors. I didn't do anything to the throttle body. All that is the way it is, the way it was rather. There's also a new distributor, cap, plugs, wires. Obviously my wires need some adjusting, but this is just hooked up to try to get it to run. So all I'm going to do is just, and by the way, the radiator is out because there were pinholes in it, and I haven't got a new radiator yet. It's just, it's not cost effective on this to have it record. I just want to get a new one. So that's coming. New thermostat is coming, but that's okay. I'm not going to run it long enough to get it hot. I just want to run it and see if it'll run. So once I crank it over, there's still going to be some bad gas that's in the fuel rail. That has to pass through before it'll burn. I don't think that bad gas will even fire. The only question that I have, I know that the ignition coil is good. When I put the distributor rotor in place, it screws on with 2 screws on either side of the rotor, and it almost looks like that rotor could go in both ways. I have it setting in there. It looks right, but I'm not sure, if I have it 180 degrees out of phase. Anyway, we'll find out. I would assume that it could only go in one way, but it looks like it could go in 2, so I'm not completely sure about that. Anyway, okay, so let's just crank it up and see what it does. By the way, I'm up on blocks, stands, because I don't have any brakes, and I haven't played with that yet. Oh, the other thing is I have a broken exhaust pipe, so if it fires at all, it might be loud. Anyway, here we go. So, all right, we have power here. I'm in neutral. Maybe I gotta put my clutch in. Doesn't sound like anybody's home. All right, I just paused the video for a moment to hit it with some starter fluid. Let's try it again. I got nothing. Nobody home. It's like I have no spark. I checked for spark, and I do have spark. Let's try it again. Oh. Hey, it runs. Hit it with some starter fluid again. Try it again. It's alive. It's got a lot of bad gas to get through it. Hi. So we're back. So we're now a couple days after the first video from the first time I tried to start the thing, and where we left off was it would run for a little bit with starter fluid and then not at all. And my whole kind of thought process on that was that there was bad gas in the injection system, in the injectors, and if I needed the starter fluid to start it, to at least get it cranking over, it would, you know, that would help push the bad gas out, let the new gas come in, etc., etc. And I would hope that the engine would run on its own. But that didn't happen. Off camera, after the last segment, I probably did that cycle probably 10 times, where I would, you know, spray a little starter fluid, start the motor for a second, let the motor die, spray starter fluid, start the motor, blah, blah, blah. So I did a little troubleshooting and attached a fuel pressure gauge here, and I was only getting 4 psi. Now 4 psi should sound like a familiar number to the carburetor people because, as it turns out, the pump I put under there was the wrong pump. Knucklehead put in the wrong thing. Knucklehead is me. So I now have the proper pump that's generating about 30-35 psi, and I'm thinking that might make a difference. So let's find out. We'll see what happens. We're in neutral. We got power. Let's give it a shot. Well, that's something. Okay, so we made a little bit of progress. After a couple more rounds of starter fluid and cranking it, I got it to the point where it would kind of start on its own without starter fluid, but then die right away. Like I said, I'm not using starter fluid anymore. It's running on its own fuel, and it'll just pretty much do this. And I'll have to wait for, I don't know, a few more minutes, and then it'll do it again. It's almost like the injectors are leaking a little bit, and there's a little bit of fuel that's slowly leaking past, but the injectors aren't working properly. I did check with an idiot light, and the injectors are getting signal from the ECU to open. So I know we have fuel pressure. I know we have injectors are getting signal. So what this is seeming like, it's just simply boiling down to injectors. I'll try it again. Yeah, and it'll do that. So injectors need to come out next. Stay tuned. Alright, so we're back. I have taken out and cleaned out and tested the injectors. They actually work very well. They were pretty clogged. There was just a little bit of fuel getting through on a couple of them. Most of them, 3 out of 4 were plugged almost completely. One had a little bit of flow to it. Took some cleaning and some hitting it with the battery. 6 volts actually is what I used to open and close that valve inside each injector. That's what it took to get them clean. So I've cleaned them, put them back. I also took that opportunity to totally clean out the fuel rail, get all that bad gas, all the remaining gas out of there. I did give it one little squirt of starter fluid here just a second ago because everything is all dry. There's no fuel in there. I primed it till fuel came out of there. Anyhow, let's see what happens. Here we go. Hey, look at that. what I wanted to achieve. First time running in 20 years. Yeah, it's running a little bit rough. I'll listen to it for a second. Nice. Thanks for watching.